Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your girl, Treaty LPC, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Self-Aware and Effed Up podcast. Thank you so much for all the love and support with last week's episode. I really love the energy that you guys are giving. Thank you for all of the feedback, all of the comments, the likes, the subscribes, all of that good stuff. I really love the energy that you guys are putting into advancing mental health across the board. I really, really love it. So keep that love and keep that support coming. This week's episode will not disappoint. I have an amazing guest with me this week, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear a little bit more about her story. She is an author. She is a mental health advocate. She owns a nonprofit organization that is all about advancing mental health. And she's also an up and coming YouTuber who is also using her platform in order to advance mental health. So without further ado, please welcome to the Self-Aware and Effed Up podcast, Miss Felicia Baxley. Hey, Felicia, how are you doing this evening?
I am good. Thank you so much for the opportunity. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. It's been a bit of a long day, but I am excited to be able to chat with you. Glad we could finally link up and really have you kind of bless the audience. I've done a lot of research, definitely a fan of your work. And so I just really can't wait to hear a little bit more about it and also have you share those things with the audience. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day today.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, let's get into it. So we can start off actually by just having you tell the audience a little bit about yourself. I know I gave you a quick, brief bio, but I just want to dig into a little bit more about what you do, and especially who you are and how it ties into mental health.
Absolutely. So as everyone has already heard, there's a lot going on over here when it comes to titles. Yes. So with that being said, yes, I am an author. I honestly don't remember how many books I have out. It's like 6 or 7.
Nice.
I lost count after like 4. I'm not even gonna lie. So I think it's like 6 or 7 that's out right now. I am an up and coming YouTuber, and the YouTube is called Fueling Freedom. And basically what I do over there is empower women who are ready to enhance, enjoy, and share their life experiences in a way that generates generational wealth. Wow. So that's what we're doing over there at Fueling Freedom on YouTube. And then my nonprofit is pretty much in the same kind of vein, all of it surrounding mental health. So on the YouTube, I share my life experiences, my experience with mental health, what got me in the field, and just kind of what I've learned as someone who's both in the field and someone who suffers from mental health issues. Okay. So that's where we are on the YouTube. And then I have a nonprofit. It's called Sain, Directive, which it actually means to command a sound mind. Okay. So with the nonprofit, I've actually transitioned. It started out with personal style and mental health, but I've kind of actually transitioned it to now I'm working more so with middle school and high school girls. Oh, and nice. I help them with mental health, self-esteem, just all those types of things. I try to go into the school and, check in with them every now and again and those kinds of things. So yeah, those are just a few of the things that I got going on over here.
Girl, you got a lot going on, and I definitely here for all of it. It sounds amazing. Definitely can't wait to check out more of your books. When I was kind of preparing for the episode, I only saw the one. And so like knowing that you have all of these great, things out there to help people and really, to share your stories is really and truly amazing. And I know you should say, you said that you are not only, studying and moving towards professionalism in mental health, but you also have a story related to your own personal journey with mental health. And I definitely want to dive into that a little bit more just to kind of see what led you through this process. So, the title of the podcast is Self-Aware and Effed Up. So I definitely want to, explore a little bit about how that title connects to you and how you kind of see that idea of being self-aware and effed up.
Oh, well, it definitely describes me to a T. It's a thing for sure. So with me, I'm not gonna say always, but I can remember back at least to like the 8th grade having mental health issues. I struggled starting about then with anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, all of those things I've still struggled with up until today. So on that end, I have experienced firsthand what it's like to build coping mechanisms and defense mechanisms, and then grow up and realize like, there's probably a better way to do this. And then having to go back and relearn everything that worked for me to begin with. So on that end, it's definitely a journey because it's something that, like I said, I struggle with on a daily basis. I have major depressive disorder as well as generalized anxiety disorder. So those are things that I work on, which is why I want to be an advocate obviously, because there's not enough people who understand that it's more normal than we probably seen,
Right.
or that it can manifest in different ways. So depression doesn't look the same for everyone. So that's my experience with mental health. And then on the professional side, I am in grad school. I have a year left before I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor. So I got a year and I'll have my master's and I will be a counselor. So on the professional side, I will in turn be helping people.
Awesome. You're already helping people. You're just doing it in a different capacity. But I love that, you know, grad school ain't no joke. So, I mean, you know, definitely good luck with that. I remember those days. And it was definitely a period of a lot of growth in my life. So I know you probably seeing that for yourself. So we got a lot in common. We got the same diagnosis. So, but we're going to move on. So you said, you know, that your mental health journey kind of led you to become an advocate. Starting your organization, I know you said that the nonprofit was something that you were led to do just kind of because of your own struggles, but what kind of gave you the idea to move forward with being able to create an environment for other young women to be able to work through their own mental health issues?
So for me, I want to say, honestly, during the pandemic, I kind of got more into entrepreneurship. I had never really thought about being a business owner or anything like that before, but the pandemic kind of brought about new things for us all, right? The importance of multiple streams and all of that stuff. Yeah. So I've had multiple businesses since then, but for me, it was important to make sure that I did something for the mental health community. And to be honest with you, the nonprofit actually came from an original for-profit idea that I have. So I was going with a boutique to begin with.
Okay.
And then I kind of branched from my boutique specifically to do nonprofit with the same type of stuff, which is why I said it started with style and like thrifting items and all of those kinds of things. Okay. Promoting, you know, when you look better, you tend to feel a little bit better. Yeah, so absolutely. Promoting personal style and growth and things like that. So that's how it kind of came about. And then I transitioned it a little bit because for one, my mom actually got into a car accident. She ended up being paralyzed from the waist down. So I wasn't able to really do with the nonprofit what I was doing before. So I had to kind of shift and go in a different capacity. Okay. And the school system here, like I'm sure everywhere else, they need help. Like we can't expect the teachers to do it all. So I was like, you know what? I'm in a position, I had quit my job at the end of last year. So I was just kind of dilly-dallying around in grad school, living my best life for like the first part of the year. So I transitioned it to work more with young girls and teens to be able to kind of help them with their confidence, still incorporating that aspect, but kind of scaling it to fit that particular audience of young girls, because I feel like I always knew that I had something for adults, but most of the stuff that I dealt with, had it been caught in middle and high school, I probably wouldn't have struggled as bad, you know, into my adult life. So those were the kinds of things that my mind has gone through, and it's still evolving, which is a lot of what I talk about on Fueling Freedom, just kind of my transition into thought processes, because I'll jump into something real quick. Before you even know, I'll be jumped out there. So sometimes I have to kind of rebrand and transition things. And it's been a journey, which is why I want to share it, to kind of let people know what life looks like, you know, for someone like me.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think that's so important. I love, you know, that when we reconnected, you talked about, you know, going through some issues with depression and then being able to rebrand yourself. And a lot of people find rebranding and coming through. I love the use of the word sabbatical. They find those things very challenging. What steps did you take during your rebranding process to kind of help you get back on track and use the coping skills that you already had to get to this new place that you're at?
Lord, that's a great question. And I like that you just said that you love the term sabbatical, because that's literally the first video that I have on YouTube, because I did take a 6-month sabbatical. So like I just mentioned, I left my job I quit my job in December of last year, just knowing that I needed a mental health break. Like it was too much going on. My body couldn't handle the stress that I was putting it under, and I just needed a break. So I ended up leaving my job. The first 2 months, I just kind of chilled. And then after that, I did go on a 6-month sabbatical. I was still kind of creating and doing all of the things that I had been doing. But like I said, when my mom got into an accident, plus just stuff in my life kind of transition, where I was going, what I was doing, what I was producing wasn't necessarily as transitionable, if you will.
Okay.
I still had the mental health aspect, but I had kind of honed in on other things. So it made it a little bit less of a transition. So for me, towards the end of my sabbatical, when I truly got a better understanding of what I was supposed to be doing, how I was supposed to be helping, how I could make, my assets, my gifts and abilities, how I could make those things work for me. It gave me a better vision on how I could rebrand and redo things in, across multiple different businesses. So my nonprofit, the Fueling Freedom, I could shift those things in a way that they fit better together and that they made more sense for me in the long term.
Right. Okay. Good deal. I love that. I love that you took the time that you needed. I spent a lot of time on the podcast, as well as just like within my private practice, talking about the importance of self-care, the importance of wellness, and knowing when you need to step back. And a lot of people struggle with that line. I struggle with that line at times of knowing when it's too much. And I was talking to my spiritual brother a little bit earlier today about, like feeling like I always have to show up for my clients and I can't take a break because, what are they going to do if I just decide I want to go dark for a month or so, and it is a struggle. So, with you going into this field in a different way, you definitely have to make sure you take those pauses and do what you need to do to take care of yourself. So, it is critical. And I love that you see that and you're using that for your own benefit. Because, grad school's done. Life gonna look a lot different. So
who are you telling?
Yeah. So you've had a lot of experience with mental health, with navigating through your own mental health conditions and working through and using your coping skills. What has your experience with therapy been like? Because I know a lot of people are fearful of going to therapy or seeking services because they're afraid of being judged. What has your experience been like?
So my experience has been great with therapy, actually. And I could see how some people may be skeptical because therapy is basically a relationship. Yeah. So if you go to therapy the first time and you're not vibing right away, you're not trying to call that date back, then most people kind of stop there and they think, that's not what to do. Now, for me, luckily, the therapist that I have, she's the same one that I've been going since I started therapy, and she's great. But I will say the first time I went to her in therapy, what I needed from therapy was different. And I didn't know how to manage my expectations of what she could do based on what I was bringing her. So at that time, like I was still going to therapy, but I wasn't necessarily getting the full benefit because I was still very surface. And then I ended up quitting therapy for a little while. And grad school actually made me go back because, like you said, I got to those intensives. Things started getting intense, and I was like, "Oh Jesus, I might need to go on to therapy and get myself together before I go out here trying to help other people."
Yeah.
So since then, I've approached it completely different, and it has worked wonders for me. And I've been open. I've been honest. The second time I went to therapy, I went in with the mindset to do the work, whatever work looked like, and I went in with the mindset to receive. Now, luckily for me, since I'm going into this field, I can look at it from two perspectives. Still, I can look at it as the client, right? But then I'm also looking, what is my therapist doing that makes me feel good? So I can, jot that down real quick so I can know to do that. So it's kind of a two-way fold for me. So for me, it's obviously therapeutic in one respect, but it's also a form of like professional development in another, because I'm learning by watching someone else do it and getting to have that experience. In school, we role play a lot. So here it's basically a real life role play, and I get to get the benefit of the knowledge that she has as it pertains to me. And then I also get the benefit of seeing how she's able to package that to benefit me. So I love going to therapy.
Okay.
So much so that I pay out of pocket for therapy.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those people, and I had to get to that point because I
Mm,
realized that, you know what, I spend money on this kind of food, or if I want this pair of shoes, I'll go get it, or I'll find a
right.
way. But this is something that I need to invest in. Like, my mental health is important. And I know that if I don't make the investment now, I could easily get back to where I was before I left my job. And that was probably the worst place I could have been.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about therapy. I don't
Mm.
know nobody else's experiences, but
Yeah, I'm with you. I love therapy. Therapy makes me a better therapist for my clients. So that hour that I spend with my therapist each week is the most critical hour a lot of times for me throughout the week because I may see 30 clients within a week. That one
Mhm.
hour helps me be able to provide those 30 hours to my clients. And it
Right.
definitely, notice things that my therapist does and I'll pick up on it. I have to buy her style. I was like, I'm gonna give you credit. But my therapist's name is Alex, and I talk about Alex a lot. But because she's definitely helped me become a better person. And
Mhm.
a lot of times people are fearful of opening up to someone and being vulnerable with them because of that fear of judgment, like I said earlier. But the misconception of what therapy is supposed to be, and you worded it so perfectly when you were like how she packages it for you. And when you went the first time, it wasn't really what you didn't really know what it was you needed, and you went
Right.
back with a new mindset. And it's so important. And even what you said about the aspect of paying out of pocket, because a lot of people don't
Mhm.
understand, like when you're going through the insurance process, which I'm all for, do what you need to do, EAP and all of those things. But
Mhm.
if you're going based on a code and you're not the diagnostic code and you're not
Right.
it's on what's going on in your life, it makes it a little bit different. It's
Yeah.
a bit more freeing, I've found, when you're just paying out of pocket for it. But that's
I
a story
agree.
for another day.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So, with your experience, I mean, therapy has been good to you. It obviously has helped you move through some things. What's one thing you wish more people knew about, like mental health or therapy, things related to just mental wellness as a whole?
So I would probably say, being asked that right now, especially after we just got done talking about therapy, I would want people to understand that that anyone can have a mental health episode. Anyone
Mhm.
can have a mental health issue. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have a disorder, because there's a
Right.
difference in between me having anxiety disorder and me being anxious. They're
Right.
two different things. So I might be anxious because I'm waiting for something in the mail or something. I might just be anxious for something.
Mm.
But a constant state of anxiety is different. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand, per se, that anyone can experience
Yeah.
an imbalance in mental wellness, because at the end of the day, it's just like your body. Your mind is just like your body. So the same way that you may not necessarily be a sickly person, but you might get sick every now and again,
Yeah.
it's the same with your mental health. In the same way that you go for a checkup once a year or whatever the
Mhm.
case may be, you would want to do that with your mind. And since obviously our mind isn't something that we can see,
Yeah.
it's not, out of sight, out of mind. So we're
Mm.
not thinking about the fact that, you know what, I just did my yearly exam. I just went into my OB or whatever the case may be. So let
Yeah.
me check in with a therapist real quick. Let me check in with someone who can just check everything out, make sure I'm
Yeah.
still, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel like that's what I would want people to understand, is that when we talk about mental health, we're not, at least for me, I'm not just talking about people with mental health disorders. I'm also
Right.
talking about people who can prevent themselves from, having bad mental health
Mhm.
episodes or even going into a mental health disorder.
Yeah. Absolutely. I definitely love that you highlighted that because a lot of times people they put off mental wellness, and we
Hmm.
talk about it, we can talk about mental health, we can talk about disorders, but we also have to talk about mental wellness. And there's a quote, I don't know who says it, whatever, but it goes, if you don't take the time to take care of your wellness, you'll have to find the time or make the time to take care of your illness. And so being
Hmm.
able to be preventive, just like you would, I went for it and got my teeth cleaned today. Like,
Right.
just like we do those sort of things, like you said, the physical, well, want women exams and things of that nature, we do need to focus that energy on being able to take care of ourselves and our mental wellness is just as we do with everything else. So Thank you for
Absolutely.
definitely sharing that. So you talked about your sabbatical, you talked about, how you had to do the rebrand and a little bit about your therapy journey, but what helps you? What are some of the coping skills that you've seen work in your life that maybe could help someone else that is dealing with a depressive episode or may have a, depressive disorder?
So for me, for one, the two biggest things that I've incorporated probably in the last 3 or so months have been breathing techniques
Mhm.
and meditation. So for me, breathing, it always sounded so redundant. Like we breathe all the
Yeah.
time. That's something that, you do involuntarily. But for me, that's the reason that it works because I involuntarily do it so much. When I
Mhm.
focus on it, especially depending on the breathing technique that I'm using, it requires me to slow down. And I already told you, I'll jump into something.
Mhm.
I'm a fast paced minded person.
Gotcha.
My mind be running. So
Mhm.
I have to slow myself down and I have to um, be self aware of what's going on or where I am at any given point in time. So my breathing actually helps me with that a lot because it just causes me to be more mindful in the moment of what's
Mhm.
happening. Meditation is the same way, just 10 or 15 minutes a day of me and meditation is more so teaching me how to clear my mind.
Yeah.
It's teaching me how to just be able to sit still with myself and just notice who I am without all of the extra thoughts, being able to kind of silence things and
Yeah.
realize, like, you know what? I don't have to give this so much of my mental energy right now. Like it's good, like it's fine. So those are two of the biggest things for me. And then um two skills that I've actually learned in therapy because my therapist is amazing.
Okay.
For me, coping, especially with anxiety, I would say the biggest thing has been the change in my self talk.
Mm.
One of the best things that my therapist probably could have said to me recently was that if I ask someone to do something and they say no, they're not rejecting me, they're rejecting the task.
Yeah. That's
So
good.
just having a different thought process behind certain things, because we can, if we're not careful and if we're not self-aware, then
Mhm.
we can receive something the wrong way and then we could just spiral, or at least I can. So
Mhm.
just having a different thought process or being able to see how I could think about certain types of things in a different perspective to where
Yeah.
it's not as anxiety provoking for me has been great. So definitely deep breathing and meditation, and then also just kind of talking myself through things
Okay.
before just allowing all of my emotions to kind of bombard the situation.
Gotcha. Yeah. And you're not on your own with that, moving and talking through the things in the way that you do, because it is something that is so helpful. I use it a lot with clients, the Socratic questions method, where I
Hmm.
tell people, break down that thought. What's the evidence that supports it? Is it true? Is this something that you're like, maybe it's a defense mechanism? Looking at all of those different components is so important. So I love that you talk about, the self-talk piece because our thoughts will drive us, to the most unimaginable places.
Oh
And I know
yeah.
you mentioned, that you dealt with different types of thoughts in the past, suicidal thoughts. And we talk a lot about suicide on this podcast for multiple reasons. One, because it's taboo. And,
Hmm.
a lot of people don't understand how prevalent it is to have suicidal thoughts and to experience those things. And the self talk can lead people to the negative self-talk can lead people to having those type of thoughts and
Hmm.
definitely lead to someone losing their life. So I'm so glad that you highlighted that. And the meditation piece, for those that listened to last week's episode, we talked a lot about wellness and meditation and self-care.
Hmm.
So definitely, if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and check it out for the audience. Make sure you guys do that because it will give you a lot of more tips related to that meditation piece. It's
Hmm.
really important. So thank you for sharing that. I know coping with depression and anxiety, it's like, you don't know which one gonna win each day.
Oh,
It's
each
like
day.
who gonna win? It's like I used to make like memes to cope. Like, okay, I don't know who gonna beat me today, my depression or my anxiety, because I feel like
Right.
a fight over who wants to take control that day or whatever. So
Yeah.
self-talk is really important. So really glad to hear that you have some effective coping skills that are working for you. So Tell me a little bit more about these books, though, because I feel like we need to dive a little bit deeper and be able to understand a little bit more about that, and so people can connect with you and also be able to purchase them.
Absolutely. So I'm actually in the process of writing one on my sabbatical and all these types of things that we're talking about. I'm actually in the process of writing all of that down. But the most recent one that I did, I think is the one that you saw. It's called Pearl Maze, A Girl's Guide to Style Therapy. And then it also has a journal that goes along with it called Pearl Maze, A Girl's Journal to Style Therapy. Okay. And basically what this book does is it kind of goes ahead and gives a leeway into all of these mental health talks that we've been having through the perspective of the way that you look. Okay. So the book basically goes through how you can utilize style as a coping mechanism, and how you can use, the effort that you put into your appearance as something that could potentially help you to overcome, not every day, but, some of the days. And then the journal is very reflective, not more so on the style piece, but more so on the mental health piece. Okay. So the journal actually has a lot of self-reflections, a lot of kind of questions like you were talking about, kind of unpacking some of those thoughts. So some of that kind of stuff is in the journal. So those are my two most recent ones. They're under my real name, under Felicia Baxley on Amazon. Okay. And then the other ones that I have a fiction book. It's called Behind the Blue Elevator. It's a psychological thriller. It's actually everything that I've ever done has been based in mental health, because that's actually based in an asylum. Oh, wow. So, yeah. So Behind the Blue Elevator, that's also on Amazon. Literally, if you Google or just Amazon Felicia Baxley, everything that's up there should come up. But so we have the style and journal to girls, a girl's guide and journal to style therapy. Behind the Blue Elevator. I also have a spiritual based book. So it's a Christian nonfiction. That one's called Waiting or Warfare. Okay. And it's from the spiritual perspective of basically having to go through a wait season, or actually having to fight for something that you need or that you want in a more warring season. So that's out there. And then I think I have one or two more that may not actually be on Amazon. They may not be in circulation anymore. My very first one was called The Help Meet, and it was also a Christian nonfiction about being a Christian wife, or what a helpmeet was biblically. Okay. And then I have a book called Ready, Set, Bossed Up, which is all about 7 tips to entrepreneurship. That one might actually be on Amazon.
Okay, you got a whole arsenal of
I do.
material, for people to connect with. A lot, as you were speaking, like a lot of that definitely resonated with me. I got to check out that thriller. I think that's the one my brother was telling me about a little bit earlier. It's like he's waiting on part 2. So when's part 2? Yeah.
Girl, I did start writing on it. Okay. I stopped, but we gonna work on it. Give me about 6 to 12.
6 to 12. So. Okay. So I'm having it'll probably take me that long to get through the first one, because I, don't have like free time. But I definitely want to check it out, because he was definitely talking real heavy on that. Shout out to my brother K. Noel Jordan. He's definitely was hyping up that, and I love a good psychological thriller. So I'm all for that. But definitely want to check out some of those other titles as well.
He's the best hype man, I can assure you.
He is. He's been hyping me for 20 years now. So, I mean, it's real deep.
See, you got me beat. He only been hyping me for about 2. But
okay, yeah. Me and Kate we'll have some really funny stories from college days. So, yeah, it's real. But I definitely appreciate you sharing those titles. It's definitely amazing to kind of hear your journey. We have a lot in common, so that definitely sticks out too. So I definitely gotta read and support and do that. But I appreciate you sharing a little bit more about that, so the audience can be able to connect with you. So, and they know how to get your books, most of them on Amazon. How can they connect with you if they want to donate to the nonprofit, or if they want to just connect with their YouTube channel? How can they reach you or find you?
So they can actually just go to my Instagram, which is under Fueling Freedom, and then it's 2 underscores. And in there, there'll actually be a link in my bio that'll send them to, like, if you want to go to my YouTube, it's there, but it's under Fueling Freedom as well. And then there's also a link to, I believe, all of my books, and a link to donate to the nonprofit.
Okay. So a lot of ways that they can reach you. So IG is pretty much your landing hub for everything else that you do. So we'll make sure we include that in the description of the episode. So you guys, if you're interested in connecting with Felicia, make sure that you look in the below the description, and you'll find all of her information that you can connect with her, purchase her books, donate to the nonprofit, YouTube, all of that good stuff. Felicia, I really appreciate your time today. I really appreciate your openness and with sharing with the audience, and that's just getting to know a little bit more about you. Are there any other words of wisdom that you would like to leave the audience with?
Get started. Whatever it is that you feel like you need to do, whether you need to go to therapy, whether you need to just start opening up more, literally it's all in your head. So if you just start doing stuff without necessarily within reason, without thinking about it too much, then you'll get a whole lot further. So just get started. And it doesn't have to be perfect when you get started. As long as you get started. It's just like losing weight, right? If you get off the couch and go walk around the block, you've already done more than what you would have done sitting on the couch. Yeah. So go find a therapist. Go find a therapist. Go find a group to get in, something. Just get started. Get around people who can help your mental health, whether you're struggling right now or not. Make sure you have a support system in place, because what you don't want to do is wait until you're in the middle of some type of mental health crisis, and then you don't know who your support system for that is.
All right. Awesome.
Let's get started.
Get started. That's probably going to be the title. So yeah, go ahead and get started if you're listening. Whatever it is, go ahead and start doing it right now. Felicia, again, thank you so much for your time and just being able to share with the audience about your experience, and also allow me the opportunity to get to know a little bit more about you. I've been following you for a little bit now, trying to, get to know you a little bit through that, but it's been more than a pleasure to speak with you. So keep doing what you're doing. If you ever need any support with anything, I know you're going into, the field that I'm already in. So if you need
I'm gonna call you.
Definitely feel free. I love helping new counselors. I know you're in another state, but counseling supervision and all of that is something that I do in developing new counselors. So I definitely love that. Welcome to the field, all of that good stuff. But thank you so much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for you guys listening and tuning in, make sure that you connect with Felicia at Fueling Freedom on IG. All of her information is going to be in the description of this episode. Also, make sure that you guys follow me, Tree the LPC, on all social media platforms under the handle Tree the LPC. Until next time, be safe, be well, and make sure that you take care of your mental wellness.